Welcome to Flash CS6 Tutorial 8 Following Target Game Part 3. It's a follow-up to Part 2, which was Tutorial 7, and I have that opened on my computer. Make sure all my layers are locked. Select the Actions layer, open the Actions panel, and down the bottom there's two curly brackets. Make sure you're in between them and put an enter in, make sure you're in between these two, and type this code. Type. It says SQ1_MC, that's that first blue block, period, add event listener, small a, capital E, capital L, all turns blue, that does. Open bracket, mouse event, capital M, capital E, that turns blue, period. Click, all capital letters, CLICK, comma, and I'm calling this function click SQ1, close bracket, semicolon. There's the function that I'm calling, function, FUNCTION, turns purple. Copy that click SQ1, paste it in, open bracket, event, EVENT, turns blue, colon, mouse event, capital M, capital E, you can copy it and paste it in, close bracket, colon, void turns the same color as function. There's an open curly bracket, and as soon as you start typing in here, this second closed curly bracket will come up, so you'll have two closed curly brackets at the end. And in here we're going to do something called trace, TRACE, that turns blue. Open bracket, quotation, SQ1, close quotation, close bracket, semicolon. I don't know if I call this a curly bracket, just a regular bracket. Then I'm saying SQ1_MC, that's the same block that I'm clicking on, period X turns blue, equals 1000, semicolon. That will send that block, when we click on it, way off to the right hand side so we won't see it. So let's just do a quick test to see if this works. And there's two things going to happen. I click on it, it disappears, and I trace SQ1. So I know that code works. Open the Actions panel, and we're going to just use that code for the rest of the buttons. So I'm going to come up here, see this auto format, click that, and that organizes that for me. I know this format works, so I'm going to click in front of this trace and put two forward slashes, so I don't need to see that trace. Click here, go up like that, right click, copy that. Again, get after this one like you're really between them, a couple enters, paste, and make this one SQ2. Make this a 2, make this a 2, this a 2, and this a 2. Get here, a couple enters, paste, make them a 3. 3, be very careful when you do this, it's easy to make mistakes. 3, 3, 3. I'll do the rest of them to 4, 5, 6, 7 and get back to you. And I got one more to do, so I'm getting here a couple enters between these two last curly brackets, pasting it in, making this a 7, 7, 7. Hopefully no errors. Test movie test. And as I click them, they disappear. I made an error in my code. I don't want to do this because it puts the thing too far off, and even when it's it's no good. So in this code we just put in, where I have sending this SQ1 over to 1000, I don't want to do that. What I want to do is this: GOTO AND STOP, open bracket, 7, close bracket, semicolon. This will send that movie clip over to the far right, where it's not on the stage, where it's not inside of them squares, so we won't be able to see it. So copy that. Oops, copy that. Paste it in here. and call this number 2. Come down here, paste it in, call it number 3, paste it in, call it number 4, paste it in, and this would be number 5. We got 2 more to do. Paste it in, 6, and paste it in, 7. Now this should work. Control, test movie, test. As I hit them, they disappear. They're actually just going here, and they're going to start over at random. Sometimes they're being randomed up here, that's why you don't see them. But I think they're all coming back. This one, this one, this one. Oh, they're all coming back. I've seen them. So that's working good. So now let's work on coming up with a score. I'm selecting the actions panel again. I'm at basically the top of the action script. I'm going to add another variable in here. Type. VAR, I'm calling it count hits. Capital C, capital H, colon, number, capital NUMBER equals 0, semicolon. And we're going to keep track of each time we hit one of those squares. And let's go down the bottom where we're actually clicking on those pieces. Down, right here. Right after this, where we tell it to go to 7 and stop, put an enter and type in this, type. Count hits equals count hits plus 1, semicolon. Copy that. Come down here, put an enter, paste it. Each of these, there's 7 of them, paste it. Paste it. Paste it. Paste it. Paste it. So now let's display these counts. So I'm back on the main timeline. Make sure all the layers are locked. I'm selecting this square 7 layer, insert a layer, CNTHITS, counts hits layer, selecting that first frame. I'm going over here and picking up what's called a text tool, big T. Click on that text tool, and right here make a text box. Open up the properties panel, Times New Roman, making it 20 points. Up here, make sure you have classic text. Make sure dynamic text is selected from this menu, and give it an instance name, count hits underscore txt. Capital COUNT, capital HITS underscore txt. And while we're at it, click embed, and upper, lower, numbers, punctuations, okay. And now we got to write the code for this to allow this to happen. So let's go back to the actions panel. Up the top, right here, as soon as you get this nth frame function started, before this square 1, put a couple enters and type this code. Count hits underscore text, that's that text box we just made, period, TEXT, that turns blue, equals. And with what I have in quotations, you can write whatever you want. When I have quotation, you have, then I have a space here, quotation, plus sign, count hits, that's the one we're incrementing every time we hit one of those. We're adding 1, 2, plus quotation, space, hits, period, close quotation, semicolon. So each time we hit one of these, we're going to say you have 14 hits, 15 hits, sort of like that. So let's see if that works. Test movie test. And why that's not displaying. Oh, I know why. It's where it's located. So let's go back to the timeline. This has to be above the background. So click on this layer and drag it above the background layer. Control test movie test. There it is. Okay, I found the problem. It's in my code. You probably didn't do this, but way down the bottom of my code, way down here, way down, I have this for my square 6. I have my counts hit not being part of a switch, but always incrementing it. You probably didn't do this, so I got to take this. I got to move this up here. I'm sure you probably didn't do it. So now let's test it. This is better. There's a hit, 31, 48, and I don't know why that is doing that, but I got to figure that out. I found my problem, and it's with the curly brackets. I have all these where I'm clicking on it, they're part of this. I have them included in this on frame enter up here, and I shouldn't have that. So, and the reason I have that is because I have an extra curly bracket down here. So when I put these in, you may not have done this, but if you have 2 curly brackets, you'll have the problem. If you only have 1, cut this curly bracket out. And up here, where I have this frame cell SQ6, and then I have this frame L SQ7, select SQ7, right here is where I should have the 2 curly brackets, 2 closed curly brackets. So if I enter that, now this should work. Control test movie test. And each time I hit one of these, I increment by 1. And it doesn't look like much of a game right now. So now let's put a clock into it to give us, see how many we can get in, say, 10 seconds. We're back on the main timeline. I'm going to lock all the layers. I'm going to select this background layer, insert a layer, and call it clock, C-L-O-C-K. Select that frame, doesn't matter. Open the library panel. Come down the corner, it says new symbol, click on that and call this one clock, C-L-O-C-K _ MC, enter. Okay, we have a clock now. Pick up your text tool again, and right here, there's the center, you see that little cross there, put a text box and open up your properties panel. Make sure dynamic text is selected. I have 20 points, Times New Roman, and call this C-L-O-C-K _ TXT. Close it. So we have a clock text here now, and we're running at 24 frames a second. So let's go up to 24. Insert a keyframe. So that means that that's from there to there is a full second. And let's call this layer text, T-E-X-T, enter. Lock that layer, insert a layer, call it action script, AS. Select frame 1, open the actions panel, and type this code. It's a variable, VAR, I'm calling it time, T-I-M-E, capital T, colon, number, capital N-U-M-B-E-R, that turns blue, equals 10, semicolon. I'm going to allow 10 seconds for my particular game. Back to the timeline. Frame 2, insert a blank keyframe. On the Actions panel, open the Actions panel, type, 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 type. Doing a trace, T-R-A-C-E, that turns blue. Open bracket, T-I-M-E, capital T, close bracket, semicolon. That's that variable I just made. That's going to display my time. And we're going to use this code, count underscore text, capital C. That's that text box we made that we're counting. Period, T-E-X-T, equals, quotation mark. The count is, quotation mark. And I think there's a space between the is and the quotation mark. Plus time, that's this time right here, plus quotation mark, space, now, period, quotation mark, semicolon. So whatever the time is, whatever time we had on this count text is going to say the count is 10, 9, 8, 7, because it's going to keep going like this and coming back and coming back. If, open bracket, time, capital T, is less than equal to 0, close bracket, that means it went down to 0. Open curly bracket, trace, T-R-A-C-E, open bracket, quotation, time is equal to 0, close quotation, close bracket, semicolon. And we want to do a couple things. We want to go to and stop, small g, small t, capital A, capital S, open bracket 1, close bracket, semicolon. So we want to go back to here and stop when I reach that time of 0. And at the same time, I want to go back to frame 1, back to the main timeline. To get back to the main timeline, movie clip, capital M, capital C, turns blue. Open bracket, parent, P-A-R-E-N-T, that turns blue. Close bracket, period. Go to and stop, small g, small t, capital A, capital S, that turns blue. Open bracket 1, close bracket, semicolon. And of course, this closed curly bracket to go with this open curly bracket for this if statement. And finally, the last frame, insert a blank keyframe. Select this last frame, open the Actions panel, and two things. Time, that's the count, equals time minus 1, semicolon. So every time we get here, we're going to subtract 1 from it. And at the same time, go to and play frame 2. Go to and play, small g, small t, capital A, capital P, turns blue, open bracket, 2, close bracket, semicolon. So what happens is it starts here, it gets to here, and it keeps making this loop till it does it 10 times. On the 10th time, it jumps into here. So now let's go back to scene 1 and open up this library. And this is the clock, so select the clock there, open the library, and this clock has to come and sit right there. Now, if I highlight that, open the properties panel, I got to give it an instance name, and I think we called it clock underscore MC, C-L-O-C-K underscore MC. With a little bit of luck, this should or could work. No errors, but nothing's working. Oh, access undefined, count text. Frame 2 on the clock movie clip, frame 2, line 3. On the clock movie clip, frame 2, line 3. Something is wrong right here. And this has to be clock text, not count text. This should be it. Test movie test. Here they come. As I hit them, they count, and you can see the time is counting down. And eventually it gets down to 0. And I have to have something happen so this doesn't come down anymore. So make sure all the layers are locked. Open up the library panel, find this clock movie clip, open it, and lock all those layers. Click on this text, get that fuzzy square, drag it over 1, and insert a layer. Call it cover, C-O-V-E-R. Make sure the cover is the only layer unlocked. Stage is 25%, I believe. Pick up the rectangle tool. I want black for my stroke, and for my fill I want yellow. Yellow on my fill, black on my stroke. Rectangle tool, make a rectangle. Properties. Oh, I guess I gotta highlight it again. Properties panel. Make sure the chain is unlocked here. Make it 520. Make this 440. Enter. And let's go back to scene 1 for a minute. Now I did that because I want to be clicking on this to get into my movie clip. There we go. Back to this. Now I can keep my text locked in place. I want my text to be on top, so put it up there. Highlight this and move this so that it covers that. Now I don't need to see this early. I only want to see this on this frame. So right click, convert to a keyframe, and click here and drag all the way over to here. Right click, clear those frames. So the only place we see that is here. And there's my text on top of it, which looks reasonably good. Open this frame here of my actions panel. Make this 25. Oops. Make this 25 instead of a 1, because I believe that's this frame here is 25. Yep. And let's test this and see what happens. Test movie. As time is counting down. And when this reaches 0, I can't see anymore, and it says I have hit this. And this is slightly off because I didn't center my movie clip, and I'll just show you where that is. That's in the clock movie clip. Whoops, scene 1. Double click this clock movie clip, and it's on this frame right here. You see how I'm over here a little bit? So if you make sure that's the only one that's unlocked, you can click on that and oops, make it 25%, highlight it all, and move it to the right a little bit. And there, that should take care of that. So once more, test movie, test. I'll hit a couple. You have hit 7. And you could also write in this clock movie clip right here where you have this last frame, select the cover frame, insert a frame, G-A-M-E-O-V, and you could write here in big text box, pick up a blue G-A-M-E game, over, game over. And that game over we just wrote in, we don't want it on all these frames, so right here, convert to a keyframe, and click here, drag it all the way down, clear these frames, and there's my game over. And I'm going to just open up my properties on that and make sure it's not dynamic text, make sure it's static text, and let's make it a little bigger there. Whoops, game over, properties, static text, and let's make it 50 points there. Now let's test it. See if I can get as many as I can. Get them all pretty much. Game over. I've hit 9. Now, back to scene 1. Open the actions panel up. That's traveling at a very slow speed. So let's make this around 4. 4, 4, 4, 4, 4. This is going to be much faster. 4, 4. Okay? Change them all. They're all moving faster. Test movie test. Going a bit faster. See that? Game over. Got 10 that time. So, you can play around with that. Hope you learned something from this tutorial, and I hope you use what you learn.